Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to Mythos Busters episode 118. Actually, 118. You don't say the and, I guess. That's only in a decimal value. Anyway, as not always, I'm your host. Well, I am always your host, Nick, but I'm not always the one announcing the episode like this. Sean is not with us tonight, but we have everyone else, including Ian. Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Ready to do a little Friday night Arkham talk as usual.
That is among my top 5 favorite Friday night talks. So, probably top 3, honestly, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay, so like Last Jedi discussion number 1, number 2.
Only with you and Sean. That's literally it.
I still can't believe how late we stayed up that night of Arkham Nights. I think it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we had to wake up.
So dumb. But I'm glad we did it. Holy crap. Yeah. And then joining us as well, is Scott.
Hi.
Hi, Scott. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm a little tired, but man, am I ever glad I missed that conversation.
So, Scott, what are your top 3 Friday night talk subjects?
Ooh, Arkham is definitely the top 3. Mm-hmm. I think up there as well is just memes, sharing memes with each other.
Just in general.
Yeah, you could sit around and just pass each other's phone for hours, like all these memes you collected. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe chess talk.
Oh, okay.
Like the chess.
You're covering both ends of the spectrum, as I would expect you to do. The memes, which is like my end of the spectrum, and then the chess side, which is like the smart end of the spectrum.
The lowest of brows and the highest of brows.
Yeah, one brow up, one brow down.
So a chess meme is just a brow.
Yeah, chess meme is the unibrow of the conversations. Yeah. So we got a great episode for episode 118 for you guys. We're going to do some giveaways to live listeners. So if you're hearing this on the RSS, then sorry you missed out. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you're one of the lucky 2. We are going to talk about what's coming up for us, reminders about BusterCon, stuff like that. And then for our topic, we're going to talk about Return to the Dunwich Legacy. And Sean lamented not being available for this one because, spoiler alert, Sean thinks that Return to Dunwich is the best Return to box out of the whole gamut that we've gotten so far. I don't know if I agree, but I don't know if I disagree. So I guess we'll cover that in more detail when we get there. But to get things started, like I said, we're doing 2 giveaways throughout the course of the episode to live listeners. We're giving away a copy of the Edge of the Earth Investigator expansion. And so if you're listening live at 2 different spots during the show, one towards the middle and one at the end, we'll call a name of someone live. And if you have one, great. And if you don't want this one, let us know and we'll set you up with some other Mythos Busters swag that you don't have. And if you don't have it, then you got yourself one. So great. No extra cost for you. How awesome is that? But there's more. We're doing more giveaways. We're doing a meme contest. Everyone's favorite Mythos Busters contests, I think, are meme contests, right?
The last one was so fruitful.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. We're giving away 3 copies of the Machinations Through Time scenario. So submit your memes. Submit your memes to our email, which is mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. You have until December 10th to do so. So from the live listeners, you got about a month. If you're hearing this on the RSS, you got about 3 weeks. So plenty of time to get your Arkham-related memes together and submit them. Spoiler alert as well, the hosts tend to like memes that roast the hosts. So those tend to perform pretty well. At least in the past they did, so.
Remember when we did Roast a Host and Ian got a single roast?
I know, right?
And the rest of us left just battered and charred, and there's Ian just dusting his shoulder off.
Right?
Oh, God.
literal people's choice, but I'm not going to argue with them. I think they're right in that regard.
Yeah.
As far as the meme contest goes, we're going to be giving away 3 copies, and those will be determined, 1, by social media votes and likes and stuff like that. So watch our Facebook page. We'll post all of the memes that get submitted, and then like the ones that you think are really good, and the one with the most likes is going to get one of the copies of Machinations. Another one will be picked by the hosts, which we'll probably do live on an episode like we've done in the past, or maybe a stream. I think we did a stream previously so we could share the images. And then the final one will be picked by a special secret judge. So we'll have a guest come on and pick the third one. So totally great. Yeah, Jeff in chat is asking if the last meme contest was the origin of live, laugh, love, add a doom to the current agenda. This may cause the current agenda to advance. Yes, it was.
Yep.
That one was so gold we had to preserve it.
Yeah. That one was wow. That's gonna go down to the annals of time of Arkham meme.
Right.
Yeah.
It was great. So I look forward to seeing what other ones we can get this time around. And then real quick, I'm gonna knock this other announcement out before we get to what we've been playing. BusterCon is coming, as we all are well aware. As a reminder, I'm going to do this real quick. Dates are May 12th through May 15th. If you come a little early, that'll be fine. I'm sure people will be around that whole week playing games. It will be held at the Game Center, or FFZ, in Roseville, Minnesota. We have a hotel block reserved. Look at the show notes for the link for that hotel block so you can save yourself some money by booking at that hotel for that week. And it's really close. According to Scott, it's how far away?
Approximately 2 soccer ball kicks.
What's this approximately crap? Wait a minute now.
Well, I mean, about 2 soccer ball kicks. Okay. And, you know, it's hilarious how much we have a channel on our Discord for BusterCon 2022, and the amount of people discussing like tips and tricks for like mapping out the soccer ball kicks and the strategy to the kicks, and like where's the official starting point, and then Justin got soccer balls already, and like with Mythos Busters logo on them. So like, I mean, this just blew up. But anyways, I think you can do it. Like, Ian, I'm trusting you.
Yeah, Ian, have you
used
been
to play
practicing?
soccer?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if my decrepit self can accomplish that. Versus, I would have a lot more faith in 20s Ian than my current state. But yeah, we'll see.
All right.
I mean, I always like, I played football like the American style, and I hiked the ball to the person who kicked it, but I was never the ball kicker.
Right.
So I've never really played a kicking ball sport.
Kicking a football versus kicking a soccer ball, like those they use they're because the football one you're going literally for like height and distance, like you want to maximize those as much as possible. Yeah, whereas the soccer one, there's a little more like I don't want to say accuracy, because obviously anyway, I'm totally not into sports. I don't know why I'm even discussing this.
Well, I mean, okay, so most football kickers, like a lot of them, like, or at least a bunch of them have come from soccer backgrounds. And they only kick. Like, that's
yeah, I know the kicker is like a position unto it's like the pitcher in baseball, except for if the pitcher only pitched twice in the game.
Yeah. Anyways, a bunch of people are going to try, I'm sure. We have multiple soccer balls.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole thing. People are going to look at us funny. FFZ staff coming out like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're concerned about the reservation of the hotel block, you're not sure about committing or that, but they do have free cancellation until May 10th. So you can reserve your rooms now and be rest assured you'll have that peace of mind that if you need to cancel, you have pretty much up until the date almost to do so.
It's like the Monday, and the con starts on you have until the Monday?
Yep,
before?
And it's the Wednesday is when 12 through 15. Anyway, you have 2 days before, so you're good to go. We're going to be doing Dream Eater's Iron Man at BusterCon 2022. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really looking forward to that, actually, especially missing last year's Iron Man. I am chomping at the bit to get underway with this one. And then look for more events on the schedule and a more detailed schedule coming soon, trademark.
Very soon.
Right. So,
I have a spreadsheet already.
Oh, nice!
Yeah.
Awesome. So I don't know how much discussion has been had about this, and I probably as much as I expect, which is little. Have we decided exactly how us group, the Mythos Busters hosts, are tackling Dream Eaters, or is that still kind of up in the air and we don't have something settled on yet?
I don't know if we've fully nailed it down.
Right.
Ian, I think we need to sit down and figure out our path through.
Yeah, we got about 6 months now, roughly, to throw the plan together.
God, that's cutting it close.
Yeah, there's no firm plans. All I know is that we want to, although there's been much conversation over the past couple of years of how to divide up the two different Dream Eaters campaigns. I think the one thing we know for sure is that we want to play through all 8 scenarios. So it's just going to be a matter of like figuring out 2 different investigators and then figuring out like the order of how we're going to play it, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, look forward to that. Look forward to the discussion and the planning. That's always fun. So, with those announcements out of the way, let's check in with you guys and see what we've been playing for Arkham. So, Ian, what have you been doing that's Arkham related?
Well, I've been continuing to actually play Arkham lately, which is good. Imagine that. Last time around, I talked about how I got my Edge of the Earth Investigator cards, and so I gave Lily and oh god, why am I blanking right now? Monterey Jack a good run, and I ran them through Return to Night of the Zealot. This time around, there are 3 investigators left in Edge of the Earth, Norman's Old News. So I picked up Daniela and Bob and paired them together. And I've been running them through Return to Dunwich Legacy in preparation for today. I was only able to get up to Essex because I couldn't Iron Man all of Dunwich Legacy. Surprise, surprise. But I did get through 4 at least, which was enough to kind of refresh my memory at least of the first part of Dunwich Legacy, and also get a chance to try out Daniela and Bob, and I'm enjoying both of them quite a bit, actually. Daniela was intriguing to me right off the bat because we had always talked about the tank. I think since I remember some of our very first Mythos Busters episodes talking about tank possibilities. Mm-hmm. And Daniela is like the tankiest of tanks and is actually like a true tank in that she wants to take attacks. Like, it's not just that she wants to take damage, like she actually wants to take attacks. So it's been fun playing around with that. And then on Bob's side, he's just like, I think the thing I appreciate most about Bob is opening up the possibilities of using cards that normally I'd be like, I'm not gonna want to spend an action to play the item, you know. But with Bob, it's like he gets an extra action to play an item, so go for it. So I think that's what I appreciate most about Bob, is that he actually breathes life into some certain items, and you can really like pairing him with Daniela. She gets a crazy setup out pretty quickly. Because he can help her play stuff. And, next thing you know... and I think that probably applies to any Guardian, really, if you paired Bob with him.
Yeah, Guardians love browsing the Bob's catalog and seeing what he's got for him. He's definitely a great pair for anybody blue. Mm-hmm. All right, well, Scott, what have you been playing?
Ian, it's funny you mentioned doing a Return to Dunwich run, because I kind of did one about a month and a half ago, thinking like, man, I haven't played anything Dunwich related in a while. And I took, oh boy, maybe it was about a month ago. Anyways, I took maybe my new second favorite, baby's favorite solo investigator through. Gloria is really good solo.
Oh my god. She's the best. I think she's the best solo. I think she is.
So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's just, you can so reliably control what you see off that encounter deck. Yeah. And I think if if you have enough mitigation for the stuff that's like you really don't want to see, and also if you have that knowledge of the scenario, because I think if you're going like a face check into a campaign, like she's probably good, but not as good as a campaign you've played a bunch. And knowing, like, when you look at 2 cards, you're like, nope, that's the really bad one. I know that. And, like, or both of these are bad, but I know which one is worse. Or which one I don't want to deal with and stuff like that. And obviously you can do that on the fly for something you haven't seen. But with that knowledge, man, it's insane. Ian, she reminds me of Hanumarth River Song from Lord of the Rings. In solo, because he's insane, right? Like every turn you just look at the top of the encounter deck, and because you're solo, right, like he doesn't scale, but I feel like she is the embodiment of Hanumarth River Song in Arkham. And he was always my favorite ally, and Laura was my favorite sphere. So
Sure.
Yeah, and
I played him a lot.
in some ways, she's even better than that, because I know one of the I loved making scrying decks in Lord of the Rings, but and they could be pretty effective, but people used to always tell me the problem is you see what's coming but you can't do anything about it, like which I argue, I'm not going to get into the whole argument, but I argue that knowledge is power, blah blah blah. But with Gloria, not only can you see stuff coming, but a lot of times you can also do something about it. So she kind of combines the best of both worlds in that respect. So yeah, I guess it is kind of similar to some of the earlier kind of effects that let you just look at what's coming, but Gloria comes along and is like, well, you can also just choose what you want to face too.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like my spell build for her too, because she's got that 4 intellect, and I'm running Alyssa Graham, because why would you not?
Right.
Like Alyssa Graham, just like I hard mulligan for Alyssa first of all.
Oh yeah.
Like if she is not in my opening hand, all 5 cards go. Like it is just dig for Alyssa. Once she gets out, like you're at 5 intellect, I'm running St. Hubert's Key, so I can get to 6 intellect. Like I'm not running Mind's Eye or anything. I'm just straight up investigating.
Oh, totally.
And I've got perception in there. I've got deductions. I've got promise of power when I need them. I ran arcane research because she's got that 9 sanity. I can take that 2 trauma, and you definitely need that in Dunwich.
Yes.
And yeah, I just run a really lean deck. With wards and denies. I got up to ward 5. So like what I really need is just like, I don't like, I see 2 bad things. Well, doesn't matter. So.
And not only that, but her core ability that lets you tuck a card underneath her, like that's super good too, because it's like just take one out of circulation, and like so I played her for my Achievement Hunter Night of the Zealot, and I think at first I was scared to tuck cards underneath her because of her weakness, but then I think I went a scenario where like I never saw her weakness, and I never tucked any cards, and I was like, God, I really should have done that. So then I started doing that with Ancient Evils. I was like, all right, we'll just shove Ancient Evils under there. Like, who cares? You know, like, and it was so great. Like, the only downside is that when you draw her weakness, then you're kind of like, well, shit, you know, there's all those Ancient Evils. But even still, like, she's so powerful. It feels like you're playing a choose your own adventure book, but you're like skipping to the end and reading all the things before you make your choice. Like, you're cheating. It really feels like cheating playing as Gloria. So
I tend to tuck like exactly 1 card.
Sure.
And it's not an enemy.
Right. Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I'll find a treachery that like I don't mind.
Right.
And I'll tuck that, and then I actually don't tuck anything else. Like I just discard it, or I get rid of it, or I scry it away, or whatever. So that when I draw her weakness, I'm like, or like perfect example, Ancient Evils. I'm like, if I see 2 of them, I'm like, well, I'll tuck one of them. And I'll cancel the other, and then I'm just delaying it, right? Like, I'm going to see it eventually, but I'm fine delaying it, and I might never actually see her weakness. So,
it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nick, what have you been
I have been playing Arkham, actually. I made the jaunt down to Sean's place this last weekend. And he and I played, we talked about how we passed the Patreon goal for another custom scenario, and we did the episode where we talked about what that scenario is going to look like. Well, Sean and I play tested the very, very first version of that scenario. There were some bugs. There were some problems.
There always are.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, it's looking great. It's enemy heavy. There was one point where Sean kind of leaned back in his chair and looked at the board, and he's like, "There's a lot of meat to chew through on this scenario." I'm like, "There sure is."
I mean, that's kind of the point of like a tower defense,
right? Exactly.
Slash not tower defense. What do you call it? Like King of the Hill style thing, right? Is
totally
meat grinder.
Yeah. So I don't want to like. There's some card designs I'm really excited for, but I don't want to give anything away now because it's still so early in development. But like a couple of the enemies I'm really happy with. A couple of the special like story assets that not that you carry through to whatever you play next, but that you find and use in the course of the scenario. Some of them are really cool. And Scott has helped me out a lot with designing those and coming up with ideas for them. So Scott, you have an idea of what I'm talking about, but yeah,
yes.
We played twice and we lost both times. Just because
perfect.
You're right. So, but well, I mean, it was like, yeah, but at the same time, that was also due to some adjustments that needed to be made, and they have since been made. So I'm looking forward to playtesting it again, seeing how it goes, making some further adjustments, and then I think after I do the second round of tests, that's when to the other hosts I will send the files to you guys, and then we can start doing it all together or on TTS or whatever. So anyway, so that was exciting. I played a 45 experience Norman deck, and it was the Norman deck that I shared on our cursed deck build episode. So
that's why you lost.
Well, I mean, it wasn't great, but it's the deck called Cursed Norman Doesn't Know What He's Doing Anymore, and it's the whole idea is to fill the bag and keep it maxed out on curses and blesses, and then just run the paradoxical covenant, and that sort of thing. And it worked okay. And then after that was done, Sean and I played Machinations Through Time, and I only brought the one Norman deck, so I used that again. That one that's a good scenario. Like, it's really fun. And we got right to the end, but we ended up dooming out. Just didn't have enough time. I think we kind of dawdled a little bit in the beginning. But that's a really fun scenario. Have either of you had a chance to play Machinations? Wait, probably
not.
Oh,
not yet.
Oh.
Nope, sure haven't.
Oh, well.
We are both thousands of kilometers or freedom units away from where that happens.
Yeah. As soon as I asked that, I realized that no, it's pretty much just in Minnesota right now, unless you went to Arkham Knight. So, well, it is really good. I have to play it a couple more times before I have an idea of where to place it, like in which standalones I like the best. But super enjoyable. Strong Back to the Future vibes. Very strong Back to the Future vibes. So
I have not yet heard a bad thing about it.
Yeah, I can see that. So that was fun. And then when I got home, because I also picked up Edge of the Earth while I was down there, or rather Justin had picked it up for me and dropped it off with Sean, so I brought it back up to my place, and I immediately sleeved all my cards, and I built a Daniela and a Monterey Jack deck. And in playing Machinations, I realized, gosh, I haven't played standalones in a long time. Like, I play a lot of campaign stuff now, but I don't tend to include standalones as side stories in the campaigns. I usually just play the campaign itself. So I was like, I'm just going to run these two through the standalones as if the standalones were a campaign, just ignore the experience cost to purchase the standalone, and instead just go, all right, this first one, 0 experience, let's go, and so on. So I started with Rougarou, and then I did Carnival, and then I did Murder on the Excelsior. Monterey and Daniela are very good. They're both very strong. But holy cow, was I not prepared for the horror that comes out in Rougarou. I forgot how much
there's
horror.
A lot.
There's a lot in that scenario. It was very tough, but they pulled through. Wasn't able to get the the transformation. I was really working for it, but eventually I was like, no, this is taking too long. I gotta just, burn this werewolf to the ground and call it good. And then I even bought, because I'm making use of the new cards, obviously. So for Daniela, I bought protective gear, which is the firefighter's suit on the art. Going into murder, because I'm like, oh, I'm totally going to get a picture of Daniela wearing the protective gear when Noxious Fumes hits. And I'm going to post that online and say, look, guys, as long as you prepare for it, it's fine. But I only drew Noxious Fumes once, and it was Monterey who drew it, and he was off on his own. So she never got the chance to make that little interaction happen, sadly. Yeah. So
I went on a rant with Casey. I was playing a game with him, and he put in protective gear in something, and I was ranting about the art because I'm like, the firefighting gear in 1920s would not be able to withstand the amount of fire that is around that person. Like,
it's basically like a trash bag and a breathing mask. Like,
yeah, I admire it. The art looks great. I'm just like, factually incorrect, my good sir. It was like a 5-minute tirade. I'll save you all, but
that's hilarious.
I'll redo it at BusterCon.
Great. I'll make sure that I pack protective gear just so that we can do that.
Good.
And then for Danielle, I end up getting the chainsaw, which I've never used before, so I'm excited to use that in the next scenario I play. For Monterey, I took the obvious cards like Janae Beauregard, who's phenomenal in Monterey, the Seeker Rogue ally. And I took On the Trail, the Guardian Seeker event. But I realized that Monterey digs through his deck pretty quickly. So on just a total bender, I decided to add in the Segments of Onyx. Yeah, because he can dig through his deck so quickly and get all 3 of those pieces. I got the Pendant to the Queen out once, and it was the last turn of the game, and it did me no good. So, but it's only been 2 scenarios that I've had it, so I'm kind of hoping that'll. But yeah, they're really fun. I'm excited to try the other investigators. Like Ian said, Norman is old news, especially for me at this point, because I literally just played, a end game version of him in 3 scenarios. So I probably won't touch Norman for a while. But I'm really excited to try Lily and also Bob, because they both just seem awesome. Also, like Lily and the fact that she adds signatures to her deck as she levels up and they don't cost her experience. Can we just get all investigators to work like that? Because that's cool.
I'm really excited to try Monterey Jack and Ursula two-handed in a campaign.
It'll just be ridiculous.
See how fast you can just
already
speed run.
like
Sonic and Knuckles, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Monterey Jack, I agree on. He definitely draws through his deck fast. I got Doomed as my weakness, and yeah, I wasn't too worried about it because that's when I was doing Return to Night of the Zealot, so I'm like, okay, he'll survive. But he did draw it every single scenario because he just draws through his deck. So if you get Doomed for a full campaign with Monterey Jack, you might want to redraw that thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that one can be rough. It's great in Dream Eaters if you only got 4 scenarios.
Yeah, when you're in a shorter campaign, no big deal.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Well, as always, as a quick reminder to our listeners, if you have something that you want to share with us, if you have a topic you want us to talk about, or you have an opinion about the game that is maybe unpopular or you want to share it with us, or if we've got something wrong, which we often do, you don't have to listen too closely to figure out where we went wrong. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, email us a voice message if you want to do it that way. Totally fine. When Sean is on the episode, we will play it, because I think we have one waiting in the wings that we just got today. So when Sean's on, we'll play it, because he's the one who knows how to do it. And we love hearing from you guys, obviously. So 203-493-MYTH. That's 203-493-6984. Or if you're on your phone on Facebook, you can just hit the call button on our Facebook page. Yeah, we love to hear from you guys. But with that being the case, Ian, what do we have for patron stuff this week?
Alrighty, so first off, thanks to our board members. That's Chris B, Chris H, and Chris M, our conglomeration of Chris's. Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Patrick, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your huge support of the podcast. Plays a big part in everything that we're able to do. And a special shout out to a random patron this time around goes to Rick Westbrook. Thanks, Rick, for your support as well.
Thanks, Rick.
If you've never been to mythosmerch.com, go ahead and throw that on your browser and take a look-see. We have all kinds of Mythos Busters related merch and other stuff that we've kind of added over the years. And if you've have any pictures of yourself wearing that stuff or using that stuff out in the wild, we'd love to see those, because that's always a fun little experience to see our merch actually out there in the world.
You can actually get a blanket of a meme from the last meme contest. So
Yep.
There you go.
It's all been building up to this.
Yeah.
We do have some new job titles to give out this time around. First up, Mark Aston is going to be taking on a very important role of the herder of bleeding kids. Now, that's not bleeding, that's bleating kids. So, yeah, that kind of bleeding. Yeah.
I couldn't tell if you were fake laughing at it or if you were doing the goat noise.
Doing my best goat call.
Now I want someone to clip Scott's laugh there. We can get good use out of that thing, I think. Yep. So thanks, Mark. It's a thankless job, but those kids have to be herded, especially the bleating ones. And
they get really loud at night.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Patrick Grolks. Patrick is going to be taking on another thankless job, but very important one. The Deserted Cabin Renovator. Everyone knows the Arkham world and Arkham Files universe is filled with deserted cabins, and they're just begging to be renovated. What's the first thing you would even renovate in a deserted cabin?
Oh, gosh. You know...
are we going for beauty or, like, structural?
Yes?
Like,
I was gonna say, if you can take a crap kitchen and make it good, that really ups the resale value, and it gets people to look at it. So if you're looking at flipping this thing, I'd say put most of your money into the kitchen.
I know, you know how people have like their pizza ovens in the backyard? I want my outdoor quiche oven.
Fire burning quiche.
Yeah. It's gonna be a thing. All right, I think that concludes our patron business. Thanks so much, patrons, and I'll hand it over to Scott because I think it's about that time to do our first Edge of the Earth Investigators giveaway.
It sure is. All right, the winner for this one is Dude in Progress. So, Woo! Dude in Progress, send us a message. I'm gonna ping you so that you know you've won. You win. Anyways, get in contact with us. You are the first random winner to one of the boxes.
Congratulations. That expansion will really tie the room together, I'm sure.
It really will.
I just want my cards back. I gotta watch the movie.
I know, we need an Arkham Lebowski crossover. Someone needs to make that.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, so the dude would be Survivor, obviously.
Yeah.
And then God, what's John Goodman's name in that one? Because he would be the low sanity guardian for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Walter, thank you.
Just Walter. A hair trigger.
Yep. Oh yeah, that'd be great. And I'm gonna stop myself there because I could go on and
and that's a whole separate episode one day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we have nothing new on the news front. Fantasy Flight Games, obviously they did their Arkham Knights wrap up articles like the trivia stuff and all that, but there's nothing new. And then Scott, do we have any rules stuff?
Nothing big, though. I suspect we will very soon with Edge of the Earth coming out. So hopefully this box will bring out a whole bunch of new rules. There is a campaign rule that MJ mentioned. I'm wondering if I should bring it up.
Okay.
Do we? I don't think it's a spoiler.
You can have we can warn people to cover their ears for like a minute or however long it will take.
It's like not even that. Let me just.
Why don't you type it into mod chat and then we can decide if it's something we want to discuss on the air, or is it too? Is that too?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna say it because I don't think it's a spoiler. So in the campaign, there are checkpoints that basically say you can stop now, pack up the game, and like it's mid scenario. Like some scenarios in the box, I guess, are really long, and there's checkpoints.
I think
so.
Max,
it might be like
Max talked about checkpoints in the interview that we did. So
perfect. Okay, then this is not a spoiler at all.
Okay.
So just to clarify, she said, whenever you reach a checkpoint, even if you are continuing to the next part immediately, you should treat it as the end of a scenario for all intents and purposes. Just like with Heart of the Elders back in the day, you may spend XP, record stuff, all that stuff. Like just treat it as if you reach the end of a scenario, even though you're not
ending
at the end of the scenario. Yeah.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah,
totally.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think that's a spoiler.
Not at all. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that Max talked about. I'm 99% sure that Max talked about checkpoints in the interview that we did. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure.
I guess if people if they purposely didn't listen to the interview, then yeah, that would be a spoiler to them. But anyway,
it is the most basic of. Yeah.
sorry, Maka, we ruined Edge of the Earth for you. That's fine. Just don't buy the expansion and just wait for the next one. I'm sure it'll be around shortly.
Yep. It's totally fine.
All right. So with that, let's get into our main Tupac, which is of course discussing the return to the Dunwich Legacy. Which feels weird because this came out a long time ago. But we really haven't discussed it in depth. And I know Ian and Sean talked about Return to Night of the Zealot during the last episode. So we're just going to continue that. And let's start off by talking about some player cards. Like those you can find in Return to Dunwich Legacy.
Dibs on the first one?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Because, thank God, it's my favorite one.
Why? You really want to get your hands on it?
Yeah, I wish I had more hands just to hold more copies of this card. This is level 2 Bandolier. It is a 2-cost level 2 Guardian asset with a willpower and a combat icon. Item traded, and it says you have 2 additional hand slots, which can only be used to hold weapon assets. While you have weapon assets held in 2 or more hand slots, you get +1 willpower. It has 1 health, null sanity, and takes up the body slot. This enables anti-aircraft gun skids, so that's why I love it. I also have run it in Nathaniel with double boxing gloves, which is just ridiculous. Or boxing gloves and something else. You know what I mean? Like,
so he's just like
gun or a knife
Goro
or
from Mortal Kombat.
yeah, but like imagine like killing an enemy and like now you're going to search for 2 spirit cards. Like, it's just, oh my goodness, it gets out of hand. Out of all 4 hands.
Yep. I love this one. Obviously not something I take in every investigator, but there's just so many options for hand slots in Guardian now. Or if you're a Guardian and splashing into other stuff, that just you can definitely find uses for those, and getting an extra willpower for it is just a nice little bonus on top of that.
Yeah, I included this when we did Barkham, and my goal was to get 6 paws worth of weapons at once. But I just got the shotgun out, and turns out that's all you need. So
yeah, This is always the one. Like Nick, you've said this before too about Bandolier. It always starts in a deck and then it gets cut.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, it's that 31st card. I think I find I need a very specific deck that I'm building where I'm like, I want Bandolier. Like, this is a key part of it.
Oh, sure.
Not just a bunch of good stuff Guardian, and Bandolier would be nice so I can have more good stuff in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
But Bandolier doesn't make that cut usually because it's just there's so many other good Guardian cards to put in. Like, and
right.
those like good stuff Guardian decks, I'm usually like spending those weapons and chucking them or whatever, and I'm fine moving on with the hand slots.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's usually like, you know, that you're rocking a two-handed weapon is kind of a main part of your deck, but you also need hands for some other, either like a offhand weapon or some other tools that they might have, that you have in your deck.
I do like this. I will look at upgrade Bandolier or Bandolier just itself in Mark solo.
Oh yeah.
I find like upgrade Bandolier in a solo deck in someone that can take it. Like, you get that +1 willpower. You get, you know, any two weapons out, or, you know, one of your single big weapons, and then you get that willpower boost, and then you can also still have room for your lockpicks, your flashlight, your whatever else, right? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very cool. Moving on then, I'll take this one because this one's near and dear to my heart. Level 2 Blackjack is a 2 resource cost Guardian asset with a combat and agility icon. Item, weapon, melee traded. Action. Fight! You get +2 combat for this attack if you perform this attack against an enemy engaged with an investigator. Another investigator, excuse me, I'm so excited I'm messing all these words up. An enemy engaged with another investigator, you deal +1 damage for this attack if you succeed, and no damage if you fail. It takes 1 hand slot. Very nice to get an upgraded version of the worst weapon in the game, but sadly it is still in the running, in my opinion, for the worst weapon in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine, I guess. Like,
that's the thing. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not running Bandolier level 2, so I can throw in an extra Blackjack, you know?
It's like a conditional damage bonus on a leveled up Guardian weapon. That's not great. Like, a conditional... What other leveled up Guardian weapon has a conditional damage bonus? I don't think any. Right?
Yeah.
Because the Winchester is level 0. Yeah. I think this is the only Guardian weapon that you pay experience for, and you're still not guaranteed the damage bonus, which sucks.
Yeah, terrible solo card too.
Yeah. I honestly just remembered this card existed when we talked about it right now. I totally forgot there was an upgraded version of Blackjack.
Right?
Yeah. I want to like it. Like, I'm trying to talk myself into it and think about, well, how many times are you playing multiplayer and you spend an action to engage an enemy off another investigator because you don't want to hit them. So it's kind of saving an action because you can just swing. But I don't know.
But at the same time, like, and that's what I thought too, Ian, because that's when Riot Whistle came out, right? Like, people, the idea was that, like, it saves you that engage action. So I would partially argue in a Guardian who is probably going to be fighting a lot, if that's your role, right? Your hands are probably full of weapons. So Riot Whistle might actually be better because it goes into your accessory slot, which may not be used as much. And so you get the same amount of action saving as Blackjack because you're essentially saving the engage. But if you're the person who is the Guardian and your job is to, you know, keep every enemy off the Seeker so they can go do whatever, but like your job is just kill, you're probably swinging at a high enough attack that you're usually not too worried about actually hitting the person.
100%.
Or, you know, it's the only enemy on the table and you have enough actions anyways to go get it, engage it, whatever, if it's unsafe to swing. But I know, like, when I've played that big Guardian Protector, you know, I either I engage it or I swing high enough that I'm hitting at tentacle or bust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Like, engaging an enemy...
Neat idea.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Engaging an enemy takes an action, but telling your ally to hold still is a free action. So, you can't do that every time. I think the only place that I could see this getting use is in an off-class guardian who is not the killer. So, like, in... someone who has access to level 2 guardian weapons, but their main job isn't to kill enemies. They're trying to, they're trying to get clues or whatever. So then when the guardian is like, dang it, I'm 2 damage short from killing this enemy this turn, this guy's like, okay, I can come up with my blackjack and just whap him. But the problem is that there's so many other cards that take up hand slots that are useful, even if you're not filling those hands with weapons. And
I would also argue there's probably events though that you could probably use.
And if you're spending 2 experience on a guardian weapon, get the 45. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I just think like every class has that. Like, so the thing you're going on is like this very, once or twice a game maybe you'll have to help out with damage. Every class has another way to do that fits their class better, and I feel like that just might be better than blackjack.
Right, totally.
So
yeah,
we've already spent too much. Oh, go ahead, Ian. You have something?
Oh, well, I'm gonna add to it and just say that sometimes we
stop.
Sometimes we talk about like a main weapon and an offhand weapon, and I feel like this card is like a good offhand weapon.
Take your bandolier so you can take your blackjack.
It's like third string. Yeah, you would have to have upgraded bandolier. You would have to have a way to quickly get out items and lower the cost, and then you have a weapon for every situation. But yeah, I mean, there's one. I don't want to talk too much about Edge of the Earth card since it's not out for everyone. There's one Edge of the Earth card, a Guardian card that lets you get stuff out quickly. That's all I'll say. And
yeah.
Maybe in that kind of deck, but
you know what?
I'd probably just put something else instead. I think.
You know what? I might consider running blackjack if it was this instead. If it was the exact same text as level 1, except it had the word fast on it, I might consider it.
Yeah,
sure.
But probably not. Probably still wouldn't actually use it. I might consider it, but I probably still wouldn't actually use it. So
okay, couple funny things from chat. Big Kahuna, blackjack occupies the binder slot.
Oh yeah.
And Sub-Zero Joe. Here's a guardian idea: a blackjack, machete, and Springfield, a weapon for every situation.
There you go.
There you go.
Sure.
One of each.
All bases covered.
Engaged with a friend, not engaged with you, and not engaged with anybody. Awesome.
Very nice. All right, well,
All right.
Ian, how about you push us on from this and read preposterous sketches for us?
Mm-hmm. I don't think this one will have as much discussion, but we'll see.
Right.
0 cost level 2 seeker event, a will and an intellect icon, insight traded. Level up preposterous sketches says play only if there's a clue on your location. Draw 3 cards. So the big difference for those keeping track at home is that the original level 0 version costs 2, and this is 0.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
2 experience to not pay for this card again. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna
go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say I think I was one of the big proponents of this card for a long time. Like, it was my, like, I love prep sketches.
Oh yeah.
The fact that and not to mention the alt art I saw of it where someone made it so the guy was drawing dick butt.
Dick butt. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think though, and this came out Return to Dunwich, so it's been a while. I think this may have been outclassed by Deep Knowledge.
What?
To add 2 curses.
Oh, 2
draw
curses?
3.
And that
For 0. It's level 0.
Yeah.
And it's 0 cost. Like, the cost is the curses.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need a clue there. And you can share the Deep Knowledge cards.
I think you're right.
Oh, Nick. sharing cards with others, that's where that's the
No, I was trying
bonus
to.
for you.
I mean, you know,
a
having
whole
the
song about that.
I want to have the option to then say no to it.
I want to have the option so that I
Yeah,
can not do
yeah.
it.
Like, if the switch is stuck in the no position, that's bad. But if the switch works and I can just keep it in the no position, that's good. No, I was trying to remember exactly what deep knowledge. I use deep knowledge all the time, but I couldn't remember what the game text exactly was. So yeah, no, I agree. I think that this is really good, but unfortunately, I think deep knowledge is just pound for pound better.
Yeah, I think depending on how scared you are of curses, if you're
Not
playing
very.
like hard expert,
Sure.
maybe then you might choose this over deep knowledge, or Porque no los dos.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you really need to burn through your deck, if you're playing like a 45 card something.
I think you're probably right about deep knowledge because of recent experiences on both Abandon and Alone, and my recent Iron Man run with Sean. I am very scared of curses now, and I think whenever people say it's not that big a deal to add curses, they are wrong because they always come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
In this case, I think my greediness for XP will probably still lead me to take deep knowledge because I don't want to spend 2 XP on a card drawing card probably. So yeah, I think when this first came out, I was more hot on it for that reason. But I guess I'm just saying that curses are a thing. They are more of a cost than people expect.
Right.
Yeah, they are a cost.
Yeah.
They are a cost.
But
And
it's
you
a
don't
cost
know what...
it's a cost you pay later, and maybe not at all.
Yeah,
And
but
maybe
you
someone
also-
else pays the cost.
And maybe yeah. So I play 4-player.
But you also don't know when that cost is coming up.
Yeah.
It's not like a loan, right? Where it's like payments every turn.
Well, I mean, you do know when they come. They're gonna come exactly when you're like up
When
by
you're 6
one,
up
or,
and-
they just like put you down.
All right.
I still think it's a decent card though.
Yes.
Like this is a good option. Like for me, I think in hard I would choose this over deep knowledge.
Sure. And of course I said, pay 2 experience to never pay for this card again. Like, yeah, but in retrospect, I don't think I've ever actually bought this card with experience. I think I always spend my experience on other stuff because level 0 prep sketches is still good. Like 2 resources for 3 cards, that's great. So I guess I don't feel the need to upgrade prep sketches quite like I would other cards. So
I found when I do upgrade this, it's like mid to late game. Once
Sure.
like the really key parts are upgraded, and now this is a nice to have, not a need to have.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Scott, do you want to read Strange Solution for us?
I will empower us. All right, Strange Solution. Empowering Elixir is a 1-cost level 4 seeker asset with 2 intellect icons, item and science traded. You can only include this asset, blah blah blah. You've identified the Strange Solution. Uses 3 supplies. Action: spend 1 supply and exhaust Strange Solution. Choose an investigate location to gain 2 resources and draw a card.
It's nice, but it's not acidic kicker.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, Acidic Kicker's just... I hate to, like, beat another dead horse, but... I mean, that horse is dead because of Acidic Kicker. Right?
Yeah.
Horse
right?
burned to death because it took +2 damage with a base
Still
attack
living
of 6.
in that shadow of Acidic Ichor.
Yeah. Davy said, oh, yeah, this is fair. He likes it in Parallel Roll-In because he can make it fast with one of his directives. And he's not that XP hungry, especially with the 5 bonus.
Oh, we're going back to prep sketches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, for prep sketches.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Strange Solution.
Back to the present, though. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I guess if you're doing what's the shrewd knowledge, shrewd research,
Analysis.
shrewd analysis. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you're doing that and you get this one by random, you're probably not upset because it is a good effect. 1 action for 2 resources and a card. That's pretty bomb. But the difference is that, like, Acidic Ichor covers such a big weakness, and it covers that weakness so strongly that everything else Strange Solution stacked up against it is going to be fighting for that space. And unfortunately, Acidic Ichor is really good at fighting, so it's not giving up that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you still got to do the action cost, which is like really one of the things for me. Like, obviously, it's more efficient than just spending to get a resource or draw a card, and you can give it to other investigators. So I guess if you're running some type of support build in 3 or 4 player, but for the XP cost, like if you're getting 8 XP, if you really want to guarantee it,
yeah. I don't want to, crap all over this card, but it's okay.
Yeah, but it's not that we're crapping on this card. It's the pre-taboo Mr. Rook scenario. You know what I mean? Where it's like, other level 0 Seeker allies are good, but there's Mr. Rook that they're competing with. You know what I mean? It's just one of those situations where the alternative is almost too good to pass up. So
I do think, though, Seeker does have, like you say, Nick, like it covers a big weakness. Seekers do have a lot of decent damage dealing now.
They do.
So maybe that opens up the spot for Empowering Elixir and Freezing Variant and all these other Strange Solution ones. But at the same time, if you have combat answers in your deck, you probably have other cards that are doing what the Strange Solutions are doing anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's
a tough one.
I do like you can give it to somebody else. I mean, you can help somebody out,
but it's always nice in practice, it's always nice on paper, but in practice it's doesn't.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Contraband. I'll throw this one to Ian.
Sure. Contraband is a level 2 rogue event, 3 cost, a will icon and 2 intellect icons, supply illicit traits, choose an asset controlled by an investigator at your location, either place 2 ammo or supply tokens on that asset and draw 1 card, or double the number of ammo or supply tokens on that asset. To compare it to the level 0 costs 4. This one costs 3. And the original just doubled the number of ammo or supply tokens. In this one, you can still do that, or you can just place 2 ammo or supply tokens and draw a card.
Yeah.
So,
and the upgraded one gets an additional intellect icon, though I don't know how big of a... Yeah, anyways. It's slightly different, but...
So, this one I really like. I think that I don't think it's like an auto-include rogue card, obviously. But if you're playing rogue and using level 0 Contraband, you're probably going to look at this one. Because unlike level 0 Contraband, this one is useful even if your weapon or whatever is empty. So.
Yeah. Really bad if you're using the bow.
Well, yes. I mean, when you... Yeah.
So not great there. But otherwise, you know what? Really fun card. Especially Northern Lights JP mentions on the bar.
Yes. In Leo, yep.
Especially if you can play 2 contrabands, get to 32 ammo on the bar, and just... well, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really kind of... I feel like Contraband is the ridiculousness option when you have an asset with a bunch of ammo and you want to double that and get some... I remember one of the things I used to do back in the day is like the classic mini game of Jenny's guns and Contraband and see how many you can get on there. I'm trying to remember how many bullets I got on it, but it was a ridiculous amount. Because Swift Reload exists these days, which is similar same cost, same XP, and you just kind of refill up to the full ammo. And so I think for a lot of weapons, that's sufficient, and that one is fast, so you don't have to use an action. So that's what I'm saying.
good.
I think this one is more like a bar or something like that, where you really are trying to do some shenanigans.
Sure.
Yeah, it's totally to me this like just screams out standalone deck that's doing a wombo combo.
Well, yeah, any card that says double on it is going to be like, okay, this opens up a lot of doors. So, all right. Well, I'll move us on to Think on Your Feet, a level 2 rogue event. Costs 0, has an intellect and 2 agility icons, the inverse of Contraband level 2. Fast, play when an enemy enters your location. Immediately move to a connecting location. The enemy still enters your previous location. I can never remember the difference between this and level 0. What is the level 0?
The original one, it's when an enemy would spawn at your location. This one is... And then the original one also costs 1, and this one adds an agility icon.
Yeah.
So
this one protects you against hunters is the big thing.
So is spawning at your location also considered entering your location?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I get it then. Cool.
So this is yes and.
Right.
Yep.
Essentially, yeah.
And the nice thing is it doesn't specify non-elite, so it could be a big boss or an elite with like doing 3 damage and 3 horror, and you can nope out if it comes towards you.
Yeah. Sure. I don't think I've ever used leveled up Think on Your Feet, but I can see its use. Side note, this card is terrible with Chuck.
Because it's fast and it's already free.
And it doesn't have a skill test associated with it, so it's...
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's good in... I use it in Finn. Sure. Is the one I've used it in. Where I'm just like, especially like solo Finn, where I'm just like, I don't have time to deal with this enemy. And I've used original Think on Your Feet, just like when I don't have a weapon out or I'm not ready to do stuff. And then upgrade to this, like mid-campaign-ish.
Sure.
And love the icons for it too, so...
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I've kind of gone up and down on Think on Your Feet over the course of the life of the game. And I think Innsmouth is really what drove me back into the waiting arms of Think on Your Feet. Just really with any campaign or scenario that has enemies with bad engage effects. Because those can trigger whether they spawn on you or whether they move into your location, and you just can't afford to keep getting hit, and so I like that. And sometimes with these like 1 cost events too, you think 1 cost, that's not a big deal, and then you always end up needing to play them when you have 0 resources. So I don't know, I think it's not for every deck, but this one has a lot of use for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to read Rite of Seeking?
Yeah, so this is Rite of Seeking. It is a 4-cost level 2 mystic asset with an intellect icon. It's spell traded, uses 3 charges. Action, spend 1 charge. Investigate. Investigate using willpower instead of intellect. You get +2 willpower for this test. If you succeed, you discover 1 additional clue at this location. If you draw a bad stuff token, including the tentacle, during this test, after this test resolves, lose all your remaining actions and immediately end your turn. And it takes up 1 arcane slot. So upgrading from the level 0-1, it basically just adds... it gives you a +2 to your willpower for the test. Same cost, same icons, everything like that.
Yeah.
If you're using Rite of Seeking level 0, I really like this upgrade.
Yeah.
I am more partial towards... Oh god, what's it called? It came in...
Sixth Sense?
Jacqueline's? Sixth Sense?
That's my go-to Seeker clue one, so...
What's the other one? I think it came in Jacqueline. It's also a Clairvoyance. Thank you.
Oh, sure. That one's all right.
If you draw a positive token, you take a damage. something, so you don't lose your actions.
Yeah,
Something like that.
it's a better negative effect.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
yes, by far.
Losing all remaining actions and immediately end your turn, like that's been my issue with Rite of Seeking.
Oh, totally.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know, too bad Sean isn't here to defend it, but
I think he
he's
would
had
agree
his
with
time.
you.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's the thing, like, this isn't a bad card. It definitely has its use, but you play around this card. Because all it takes is for that bad stuff token thing to hit once on your first action, and then suddenly you're thinking about it every turn. So, it's good, but in my opinion, there are better options, and that better option is Sixth Sense. Clairvoyance, I won't argue against that. So,
I think if you're playing like a clue-getting mystic,
Yeah, exactly.
and you play Rite of Seeking and Clairvoyance, like you Clairvoyance because they have charge base, right? You Clairvoyance first, then you Rite of Seeking, and so you're using both spells in the same turn, so you're getting a bunch of clues, but you make sure Rite of Seeking's at the end and use Clairvoyance for that.
Yeah.
But man, Sixth Sense is so good too.
It is. You could also like supplement, like if you're like, okay, I want to be able to get clues anytime throughout my turn, but I'm still going to run Rite of Seeking for whatever reason. Like there's Drawn to the Flame, there's Read the Signs, there's other options that you can do to get clues that don't rely on this card. So then you can use this card last action and still feel fine. Or you could put this in a token filtering deck and run it with Olive, or run it with, I'm blanking on literally every other token filtering card that can work with this. But
those ones, Dark Prophecy.
Right, yeah. So you can end up seeing the token you want to see every time you use this. So there's ways to there's ways to play around this. But it's not just set it and forget it like Sixth Sense is. So
I do think the 2 XP is totally worth the bonus.
Yeah.
totally.
Like, you just paid 2 XP for 3 Unexpected Courages or Weaker Guts. Unexpected Courage, essentially.
Right.
That's taped to this card. Like, you don't need to run those 3 cards. So, I do like the value for the XP.
Yeah, in general, I use this one a lot more before we got these other options that kind of outclassed it. I have still used it in the kind of scenario you were talking about, Scott, where it's like dedicated Clover Mystic. And I think especially if I was thinking about 3 or 4 player campaigns where I just need to hoover up clues quickly, then I'll probably have this and Clairvoyance and Sixth Sense and just be able to kind of toggle depending on what I'm doing and just get as many clues as possible.
Yeah. You get your Sixth Sense out, and then you start burning through your Clairvoyances and your Rite of Seekings, and they just replace each other.
Yeah,
essentially.
And as Clover Mystic, I kind of like to have 3 different options because I don't know what I'm going to draw, and there's nothing more sad than a Clover Mystic with no spells to actually find clues.
Yeah, you need to actually. You're going to be Clover Mystic. Like, I mean, Seekers start out with that 4 or 5 intellect so they can start doing stuff. Whereas the Mystic is like, I need to convert my willpower into something else.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here waiting for a treachery to show off my willpower.
Yeah.
Look what I did.
All right. Well, Ian, do you want to take Clarity of Mind for us?
Okay.
No.
Moving on.
But I will read it. Clarity of Mind is a 2-cost level 3 mystic asset, 2 will icons, spell traits, uses 4 charges, actions, spend 1 charge, heal 2 horror from among investigators at your location, and it takes up an arcane slot. And I guess the looking back at the level 0 version, same cost. This adds 1 more charge. This heals 1 additional horror, and you can, distribute it among investigators instead of just picking an investigator.
Mm-hmm.
So
this one has an additional willpower icon, which is about as much value as it adds. Yeah. Like it's probably committing it.
So it did add some value here. I don't know that it's 3 XP worth of value exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I have definitely looked at this when like theory crafting Carolyn decks.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Because because I think she is the one investigator where I would consider this, especially because you can divide it up between the two investigators.
Yeah.
And so you could trigger each of them getting a resource. Like I like how that works. So yeah, like for Carolyn, I think this is very much something you should consider.
Sure.
I think the rest, though, I don't know.
I think the biggest thing against this card is still the action.
Yep, it's the same story. Yeah.
If it were free action exhaust, I think it would make it into a lot of, like, even you could even justify the arcane slot then at that, like you could be like, I can still, like, it takes up an arcane slot, but that's fine. I can just use it 3 turns in a row or whatever and then trash it. But that it's the same thing as scrying, and it took Gloria to get anybody to play scrying again. So unfortunately we're looking at that same thing with, and you're right, Carolyn would like this or does like this, but she's not as big of a game changer for this as Gloria was for scrying, so that's kind of disappointing. But
yeah, I think you hit on the nail on the head there. Like, there's certain investigators that will take a card's value from low to high or very high, right? And like scrying with Gloria, clarity of mind with Carolyn, I consider it. Luke and Barricade, right? Like it just right, like it there's certain cards that or Vantage Point. I mean, Vantage Point is pretty good without Luke, but I mean, there's just certain investigators where you're like, oh, this is really good. Active Desperation and Yorick, right? Active Desperation is good, but Yorick takes it to a 10. And I think this is a Carolyn card, and I don't see myself playing it outside of Carolyn, and I consider it and sometimes put it in Carolyn, and that's where it sits.
Yep.
So
we'll move on then to our first Survivor card, which is Oops, level 2. Cost 2. Wow, Dunwich is really just trying to breathe life. I totally forgot. They're really trying to breathe life into old cards that no one really... Did Caleb design this expansion? What's going on? 2 resource cost, 2 experience, Survivor event. It comes with 2 combat, 1 agility icon, fortune traded, fast, play after you fail a skill test by 3 or less while attacking an enemy. Deal this attack's damage to any enemy at your location. If the attacked enemy is engaged with another investigator, this attack deals no damage to that investigator. On paper, looks fine.
So comparing it to the old one, this one, same cost. This one adds an agility icon, which doesn't really seem like much. Yeah. The old one, if you failed by 2 or less, so this one gives you bigger of a margin. And the old one, you had to deal your attack's damage to a different enemy at your location. Full stop. So this one, you can deal the enemy's damage to itself. Because it's deal this attack's damage to any enemy at your location.
Oh,
so you can make the enemy punch itself.
Sure.
And the original Oops, you had to have 2 enemies there. You would deal it to a different enemy.
What does the... Oh, go ahead, Ian.
This one is not so much punching itself, because it's your attack's damage, right? You fail while attacking an enemy, and you deal this attack's damage. So
I'm thinking of...
Were you thinking of a better card?
No, I was thinking of Forgotten Daughter.
Aquina.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of like what the original Oops should have been. This is like a kind of like in a combat version of Look What I Found, where it's like you failed, but did you though? Because you're still gonna deal your damage to the enemy. So. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of text on this card, but if you boil it down, it's just like, instead of failing your attack, it actually will just deal that damage anyway.
And it's got the Blackjack Rider on it. So,
yeah. What?
Yeah.
So why does that need to be added? Like, why would you think that? Oh, because of the failure.
Because of that,
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I never thought of it like, Ian, it took you saying that for me to realize that Oops literally is the combat version of Look What I Found. It's in that 3-card suite of Look What I Found, Dumb Luck, and Oops. I never realized that, but I also will probably still never play it because I think there are other cards that you can play that will get around failing combat that are better includes than this, personally. The Derringer, the 18 Derringer, I think, like you're failing the attack, but then you just, what does that one do? You put the ammo back on it or something? Now I'm losing steam, so I say that.
Well, one rules clarification thing. So let's say you're doing an attack. You attack your little monster that's engaged with you. You throw some damage boosts on it, like Vicious Blow, maybe some other stuff you get on there. You fail. You're still dealing this attack's damage, but what is included in that? Just the damage. Let's say you're attacking. We'll just use an example. You're using your 45. So it's going to deal that attack's 2 damage. Is it lumping the Vicious Blow in it too that you failed at? Or
no, because
just
Vicious
the 45?
Blow specifically says... Vicious Blow specifically says if this attack is successful,
right.
it deals +1 damage. So
okay, what's
even
another
if you're shooting
example?
At something...
Brute Force.
I'm trying to think of something that modifies, like adds to the damage, like, but
Brute
is not
Force
part
does.
of the attack.
Oh. I think you're just looking at weapons at that point. I think, well, no, that's still part of the attack.
Brute Force is if it's successful by 2 or more. I guess, what's it called? Not Hatchet Man?
Yeah, let me look at how Hatchet Man is worded as we go down this
so
rabbit
if this
hole.
skill test is successful during an evasion attempt, the next time the evaded enemy takes damage this turn.
Yeah, so that would work because it takes damage.
Right, but it's anytime it takes damage. So even if you threw a dynamite.
The Dream Team, Hatchet Man, and Oops.
The worst Hatchet Man.
Yeah, that's not great.
I think I'm a little warmer on this card than you are, Nick. I could see if you're really like the big time killer for your group and just situations where you really need to nail a certain attack on a boss, like you're using your Time Worn Brand special ability, and that's when you draw the tentacle because that seems to happen, or situations like that.
Well, let me ask you this. You're a little warmer on this one than I am. Have you ever used it?
No, I'm theoretically warm on it.
Yeah, I like the idea of this card more than I actually like this card. I've been there a lot.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Scott, why don't you rise to the occasion?
All right, we have Rise to the Occasion, which is a level 3 survivor skill with 2 wild icons, innate traded. So that means Silas can take it. Commit only to a skill test you're performing, and only if the difficulty of that test is higher than your base skill value. Rise to the Occasion gains plus X wild icons, where X is the difference between your base skill and this test difficulty, to a maximum of plus 3 wild icons. So, okay, super easy way to do the math. If you are taking a test that's 1 to 3 higher than your base skill, this brings you to plus 2.
Sure.
Is the easy way to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It equals you, and then it gives you the 2 icons on the card, essentially. So
I kind of wish... Well, okay, I say this, but now I immediately thought of an opportunity when this wouldn't work. But I kind of wish that it didn't have the maximum rider on there, since it's 3 experience. Mm-hmm. But then I thought of the circle tests in the Circle Undone.
Oh, yeah.
There's the one that's 20 experience.
Yeah.
I get plus 17 to this test.
Oh.
So,
man,
I don't know.
yeah.
But I just, because of course you think of Calvin immediately
Yeah,
with this
Calvin
one.
loves it.
Yeah.
Because he's 0, but he's still getting 5 out of it, no matter what. But
like it's gonna bring him to a plus 2 on
Right.
a lot of tests,
Sure.
right? Like even at a 3 shroud at the very beginning of the game, this gives him plus 2.
yeah.
And I mean, a couple turns in, you're probably going to be at 2 skill value. So this gets you to plus 5 or plus 2 on a 5 skill value test.
Yeah, that's true. So it's still good.
Yep.
I think that's the lesson to be taken away from this one is don't be cowed by the maximum rider on there like I am. It's still good.
I do really like this in Calvin, especially as like I find it's really good throughout the game. It's really good when you're first starting the game because you can take up to a skill value of 3 test at +2, and then later on in the game, like when those skill tests get higher,
right,
you can still meet those. So. I guess the difference between this one and the old one, by the way, is the old one just had 3 wild icons and commit only to a skill test you're performing, and only the difficulty of that test is at least 2 higher than your base skill value.
Right.
Which limits it to a surprising amount. Like, I'd always try it out, and it's like, it's one over me. I think beyond Calvin, I tend to think about this one a lot in terms of nailing certain treacheries, especially for low willpower survivors, which I guess is like Silas and who's another low willpower survivor? Well, Bob is, but he can't take this. So
Yorick.
York's 3.
York's
he's
3.
3. Yeah,
but still, in certain cases. But yeah, I just really, especially for Silas, when it's, those certain treacheries come along that are going to require a lot of willpower out of you, that you really need to make sure you nail it.
Yeah. What's Rita? She's a 3, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stella's a 3.
I mean, 3 willpower, guys. That's like 5 willpower in my world. That's so high. 3, a whole 3.
Wait, is this a nice print?
I didn't know it went that high.
I'm getting dizzy here. Such great heights. It's only Silas with 2 and Calvin with 0. Everyone else has 3 or more.
All right. Well, I kind of wish... Let's do the weakness. I kind of wish that I had saved this one for Scott, because this seems like the weakness made for Scott. But Ian, why don't you read through the gates?
What? Why?
Because it's the combo killer.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Sure. So through the gates, I totally forgot this came out in Return to Dunwich Legacy.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah, I see this one quite often for some reason. One of those ones that likes me. Draw the top card of your deck. If it's not a weakness, remove that card from the game. Then search your deck, discard pile, hand, all play areas, your cabinets, under your bed, under your couch, for each other copy of that card you own, and remove them from the game as well. Yeah. This is one of those very swingy treacheries, I feel like, where sometimes comes off and it just grabs that like skill or event that you're just like, not a big deal. And then other times it grabs the most important card in your deck.
So go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick. Okay. So this is one, Ian. I hear people say, "Oh, it's swingy." Sometimes it hits, a card you're whatever. To me, theoretically, this is the worst weakness because it's if you have a deck that is theme built the way I build them, which is 30 good cards, it's always going to hit a good card.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's always bad. Like, every time I get this weakness, I'm like, oh, okay, this is not too bad because sometimes it hits a card that I don't want.
Right.
But then every time I draw it, I'm like, no, wait, I want every card in my deck because that's why I put them in my deck. Like, I wouldn't have put them in my deck if I didn't want them. And now this one takes one away.
Generally, if I'm playing campaign and this one comes up as my random, I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. But if I'm playing standalone and I build like there's only one, I can't remember the name of it now, the shotgun deck, and this comes up as one of the 5 random weaknesses I get, I'm like, nope, because that one's always going to eat the shotgun, or it's going to eat venture, or it's going to eat some other part of ever vigilant or something, and I just can't have that. So if I'm building my deck around a specific card or set of cards, then I don't like this. But if I'm just kind of doing general Arkham, as I usually do with campaigns, then I don't mind it. One thing I thought of is that because it searches all play areas, we don't see this card used a lot nowadays, but Delve Too Deep, what if you had Delve Too Deep in the victory display already, and then this ate your second one, and then it pulls the one that you earned the experience from? Because it searches all play areas. Like, I just thought about that. Like, yeah, okay.
Is the victory display a play area? I don't think it is.
Really?
I think it counts as out of play, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's out of play.
Oh. Well, never
I
mind.
believe. Yeah. One interesting point on this is with Mandy Thompson. If you draw this, and then you have to search her deck, and her weakness is still in there, it cancels the second half of this. So you would draw the top card of your deck.
Uh-huh.
If it is not a weakness, you remove the card from the game. So you remove, I don't know, whatever, magnifying glass. Then you search your deck. What's it called? Shocking Discovery or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, Shocking Discovery. And it says, when you search your deck, and this card is among the search cards, discard it. Cancel the search and all of its effects. Shuffle the search deck. Draw the top card of the encounter deck.
That's
so you don't
funny.
lose
I
your
mean,
other copy.
Yeah.
But you just got rid of 2 weaknesses, right? Like
Yeah.
that's...
Sure, and you drew an encounter card.
You
But
did.
yeah, I guess I can see that. That's a fun little interaction at the very least.
Yeah, that's the little cute thing,
Yeah.
right?
Now
it's-
I'm going to
yeah.
be praying for Through the Gates whenever I play this. Yeah, I think I generally tend to think of this as one of the gentler ones, although it has bit me a few times. I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I tend to evaluate basic weaknesses a lot in terms of actions. So, like, how much of my actions are they taking up?
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about this one, I'm like, oh, I got rid of something, but at least I didn't burn any actions. Now, if it gets rid of something important, you might need to burn actions to replace that. So that's the case where it might be
Yes.
burning your actions. But if it's just like drawing my oops or something, then it's probably not much of an action burn, and I'm probably okay with it.
And Ian's like,
It'll-
that's why I put oops in my deck.
But
I'm playing
it
the
will
long
never hit
game.
Oops. If you just put bad cards in your deck, the gates isn't that bad.
I got through the gates, but it's fine because I have blackjack, oops, I level 0 switchblade. I don't know, I lost track of the rest of it.
Jack and Zen says in chat, and I feel the same way. I get this weakness all the time. It's always worse than I expect. And I feel like that is just, I get it. And I'm like, okay. And then I pull it mid-game, and I'm like, I want every card that's still in my deck.
Yeah.
And then it finds that, like, my 2 deductions, or my 2 perceptions, or, like, my fingerprint kit that I just put down, or whatever, right? Like, it just, yeah.
When it
my
hits
2
your
enemy management
ally,
cards.
that's one of the most brutal.
Yeah,
Like your
yeah.
key
Yes.
ally. Ugh.
Or you're one ally in the entire deck. And
Yes.
you're like, I only have one ally slot. I only put one ally in. Yeah.
Jeff says, through the gates can take one of Mandy's segments of Onyx, but leave her the other 2. Like, yeah, there you go.
What's the is it the rogue permanent where you can build a singleton deck?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the name. All these new cards. It's going to
Should've
take me
been-
forever to remember and learn all the
And
card
you-
names.
Right.
And you decrease your deck size by 5,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So if you drew through the gates, it'd be like,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it is Underworld support.
There goes 5% of my deck.
yeah. So neat.
Yeah.
4%. 1 of 25.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
weaknesses
I
and-
was thinking. No, I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking skids, like parallel skids with that.
Oh,
because
yeah.
then he'd be at 20.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Anyways, I love the idea of through the gates. Like, what a great weakness.
yes. Oh yeah.
I just hate it when it hits me.
Oh yeah.
So I find it super fun because it's also like, oh man, how is this gonna screw me over this time? Like, it's one of those weaknesses where I'm kind of like excited to see how screwed I am.
Yeah.
It's not like amnesia or paranoia where it's like, oh, I just lose things.
Right.
Like, this one is like, ha ha ha. I might actually be okay, but I might ruin the game. You never know. Yeah.
It's a Schadenfreude moment for me. I love when other people have it, but I don't ever want to have it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all the player cards behind us, let's move on to the campaign discussion. An hour and a half in.
I do want to I do want to say something super quick.
Okay,
though,
yeah.
Nick, when we were talking about Oops, and you said like, "Oh man, I remember how they were like trying to get all these bad cards back." I mean, we only did at that point have the core in Dunwich, right? Like, so I think
At
what they
that
were
point,
doing,
yeah.
like, or I guess the cards that they were focusing on were the Dunwich cards,
Right.
and like the idea is to like look at the crap ones and be like, or these aren't the ones that like a lot of people are playing or putting in decks, or from what they can tell, and they like try and make an alternate version and stuff like that. So
You're not wrong.
yeah, but you are right. Like it is
But
like
it's just a slew of cards that were still just kind of like, eh. So
yeah, and I think we're looking at this also quite late beyond
Oh,
when this came out,
100%.
right? Like the what was it like?
Prep sketches level 2.
Prep sketches versus deep knowledge, right? Like it's a completely different game now,
Right.
with that.
All right.
So
So let's talk about the scenarios. I grouped them together and just quickly highlighted the changes. I don't know how in depth we want to go with this discussion. Again, we're already at an hour and 35 minutes. So probably don't want to go super in depth on some of these, like extracurricular activities and House Always Wins. There's one new location added to each. And there's some new, obviously there's the new treachery, like encounter sets and all that like replace old ones.
Yeah.
Network says, doesn't House change gambling? I don't think it gives, another way to get clues is the stage comes up and you can pay money to get clues from the stage.
Which is nice, having that option.
Right, so you don't have to necessarily gamble or drink.
Yeah. Yeah, I think extracurricular and House Always Wins. These two, it's a fairly light touch, a light return touch. I think some of the other scenarios in this campaign get modified a lot more. But these ones, they're just, it's more a little sprinkling of extra flavor than a big substantial change.
Yeah, one might say that these two, and also I would argue Miskatonic Museum, didn't really need a whole lot for a Return to campaign. So I'm kind of okay with them not doing a whole lot with these two.
I do like how Return to House Always Wins makes cheating a little more pertinent.
Yes, I was going to say the cheating and the drinking, I think the cheating, I guess, the drinking not so much, but the cheating part, it comes up a couple more times on cards in that, which is really nice.
Yeah, there's a treachery, and I can't remember where else. But yeah, there's one treachery where you have to, if you've cheated, then it affects you.
Yeah.
There's one way to choose, like everyone loses 5 resources, or this, or you've considered to be cheated.
Yeah, or
that's cheated. Yep, that's right. You can choose that as an option.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, or enemies get like plus one fight, plus one evade, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Miskatonic Museum hunting horror is more threatening.
Yeah, there's treacheries in the return. So first of all, there's the agenda issue where they fix the wordage or the verbiage on the agenda so that you're still adding resource tokens where you think you do. They add a couple more locations in Return to Museum, but I think the most significant one that isn't like a bug fix in this is the hunting horror gets those treacheries that attach to him, where when he attacks, you discard the treachery and deal +1 damage, +1 horror. Because the hunting horror's
and
values,
he heals 2 damage.
And he heals. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So because his power and toughness, his attack and evade would go up as the scenario would go on, but he wouldn't ever deal any more damage. He'd always still deal 1 and 1. And nowadays, I think we have so much more soak, and we have so much more ways to deal with damage, incoming damage, that a 1 and 1 isn't as threatening of an attack as it was back when Dunwich first came out. So it's nice that this exists.
I still think it's a cool idea to have a scenario that's just focused on one enemy that gets boosted, but the original version just couldn't boost them fast or strong enough. So it was one of the easier scenarios. I might even say one of the easiest.
Totally.
And for that reason, I feel like this is one of the biggest bumps in difficulty of any return scenarios, in my opinion. Because the original one, I would usually roll over, And I often lose the return version. Like it
Really?
that thing can spiral out of control. Yeah, I just played with Daniela and Bob, and I managed to succeed, thankfully, which broke my streak of losing this one like the last 3 times I think I played it. But they managed to squeak out the win. But it was close. The hunting horror was, I think, like 6 of 8 at the end, I want to say, and just tons of health. And thankfully Daniela can chew through a lot of health, which saved me. But yeah, I think this one and the next one we'll talk about, Essex, are 2 of the biggest bumps in difficulty for return. I think
Essex, I think that's the best improved scenario in this whole campaign, personally. I think the additional agenda at the beginning, I think the new boss enemy it throws at you, I think those 2 things alone does so much. I was leaning back from the mic, sorry, network. Those 2 things alone do so much for Essex. So, and then the conductor is added in as a random engine at the end of it, so that's really cool too.
I think I almost agree with your statement that it's the best, except for and we'll get to it, but the little bug fix in Where Doom Awaits.
I mean,
it's probably my number.
I guess I'm not thinking of bug fixes. I'm thinking of this is how the scenario functioned previously. You know, we're gonna improve that, not we're gonna fix bugs. So
yeah, I still enjoy the original Essex as well, but this one does. This one feels, it's a substantial change. It almost feels like a different scenario.
Yeah,
but it's still the same. But yeah,
it does too. Like it gives you more time, a little bit, but at the same time, it adds that extra pressure valve of the boss enemy coming up behind you, which it's a very interesting change in dynamic because we're not just cranking the dial one direction. We're cranking the dial to give us more time, but we're also pushing this button that releases a big bad. So I don't. It's really fun. I really like it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more tense. Essex could also like KO you, the original version, in higher player counts. But since I play a lot of like solo and 2-handed, I usually just kind of cruise through Essex. and I would kind of feel like I wanted my train scenario to feel a little bit more tense and more pressure, and the conductor does add that pressure that it's creeping up behind you. Again, this is the last scenario I played with Daniela and Bob, and so it's fresh in my mind that I lost very fast because I drew like 80% enemies, and so I was just bogged down. Even with Daniela's fighting ability, I was bogged down over and over again, and then the conductor caught up and I just ran out of damage and horror to give away. So I think it just has the ability a little bit more to hit players and hit them hard and put pressure on them, at least, that they have to keep going.
Yep. And then we've got Return to Blood on the Altar, which doesn't do a whole lot. Like, it adds a new version of each of the locations, so you now have 3 copies of each instead of 2, so I guess that's cool. And then it has the new hired gun enemies, which you may see or may not, depending on how your campaign went, depending on how wet your campaign is. And then Network says that it fixes location connections from the original, which I didn't realize there were connection issues in the first ones. I thought Blood on the Altar's connectivity was fine. So yeah,
it was meant to be confusing. Like way back in the day, Maxine came on the show and said that was a feature, not a bug.
Right.
Like, you're meant to walk out the back of the store and be like, oh wait, where am I in this town? Yeah. And it's because there was 6 locations and you removed one of them, I think.
Yep. You removed a random one,
and that caused it to have
a weird one-way
dead ends. One ways and dead ends and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really easy to make mistakes in that scenario of moving where you're not supposed to be able to, and I know because I've done it several times. Pay attention to those icons. Not as bad as
Boundary Beyond.
Yes.
Not as bad as Boundary Beyond.
Oh my god!
I always do it.
Have I ever had a valid play of Boundary Beyond?
Right.
Those freaking connections.
So yeah.
Yeah, it didn't change much. Yeah, I can't really think of anything huge that sticks out, which is fine because I think the original Blood on the Altar is it's fine. It does what it wants to do.
And then we get to Return to Undimensioned and Unseen, which saw significant changes simply because it's adding 4 unique broods of Yog-Sothoth to replace 4 copies of the original one. So you get the original one in there still, the vanilla OG brood, but then you get its 4 brothers and sisters that are all a little different, which that adds a layer of complexity to the scenario, which is really fun to an already complex scenario. But no, that was nice to do that. And then my favorite, haha, just kidding, thing of all is the treachery that makes the brood it attaches to elite. That can go fuck itself. Everything else I like, but that one can get back on the Essex County Express and go back to Arkham.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because like those broods, once I know it took me a couple plays to realize, oh wait, these guys aren't elite.
Yeah.
And like, what cards in the card pool can I use that like make these things like, was it Mind Wipe and
Waylay?
Yeah, it takes the victory point off. Yeah, Waylay's a big one, right? Like, and then this card's like, nah,
right?
No,
You just gotta use like because I'm hitting this one next for my achievement hunter with Ashcan, and I packed 2 Waylays specifically for this scenario, so I gotta get those to fire before that treachery comes out. I just have to. So
yeah. I will point out too that I asked Maxine before the show earlier today. I was like, "Hey, we're talking about Return to Dunwich. Anything you want to point out?" And she said that it'd be cool to mention that it was designed by not just her, but the Sadler brothers, Adam and Brady.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And her favorite part is the different broods different broods of Yogg, and just thinks their art is just fucking rad.
Very cool.
Direct quote. So yeah, I think this is probably my favorite upgrade to this campaign.
It's a significant one, so I won't argue with you.
Yeah, it just adds that variability of not taking for granted what the broods are going to do because they each have slightly different abilities and you're not sure which one you're going to get. So, yeah, I think it just makes the scenario feel more fresh. I'd probably have a lot more to say about it if I ever played investigators that could have high enough will to do anything to these things. It's all just kind of a blur of terror and pain. But
terror, pain, and green cards. I don't know what's going on here.
And resigning as fast as I can. Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. Bye. No, but yeah, I think it's a little bit of bug fixing in this one, just about the elite, the elite loophole, I guess you could call it. But then also just adding these new things to play with.
And then we get to the one that Sean, I'm sure, is super upset that he's not here to talk about, but Return to Where Doom Awaits. The one that I think when Return 2 was announced, we all that was where our minds went, was Where Doom Awaits immediately. And it was like, oh, are they going to address that? And they did. The hard intellect test is replaced with after you discover a clue at this location, which is nice. So now it triggers off of any tricks you brought with to get clues in case you're running a low intellect, which is nice. Includes a couple new locations, and then it includes Naomi O'Banion, everyone's favorite mobster gal, who I'm hoping, I've never played with her before, but Ashcan should be getting her when he gets here, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went all out to get Peter Clover in my Daniela box because I also have never gotten Naomi O'Banion, and I love her art and that character. Oh yeah, I love it. So yeah, I basically sacrificed Bob so that I could get Peter Clover.
I'll take that trade. I think that's a good trade.
Yeah. I had to make it happen. But yeah, I think it's cool adding. It's one of the things we do see in the returns where there are certain paths you can take that maybe aren't as rewarded in the original version. And we'll talk about that when we get to other return campaigns that we'll talk about. But in the case of Dunwich, it's like it's not really full-fledged paths like you'll see in later campaigns, but there is the little idea that you can be friends with the gangsters essentially. But in the original version of Dunwich, it's not really a huge reward for it, and I think
it just got you a clue. I think, didn't it?
Yeah, it's basically in Blood on the Altar. It changes like that you won't encounter like the gangsters and stuff like that. But it's not a huge deal. But obviously, this carrot that they dangled of Naomi as an asset is effective because it got me to sacrifice one of my investigators.
Yeah. I will say too, like this scenario, the fixing of the hard intellect test to being replaced with like after you discover a clue. So anyway, you would discover a clue, right? That is one switch that I see anytime there's a new player talking about Dunwich and playing and stuff. Almost everyone says, hey, there's this little change in the Return to version. You can just do it this way, and it just makes the scenario better, right? Like now your flashlights work. It works more intuitively. It works the way we thought it did until we all realized it's an action. Like
investigate,
Yeah, so it was like, oh, when I investigate, I do this. And that little change, I think, would have been enough for me. But
for this
it's
whole
awesome
scenario?
to see that. Yeah, but it's cool to see the Naomi O'Banion and the fruit of your earlier labor. So.
Yeah, I think if anyone was going to make a list of one bug, as we've been calling them, to fix in this whole campaign, it would be that for sure. Right. And they fixed it. So, and we've even seen like in later campaigns when a similar kind of mechanic is used. Usually, it'll now take this form of like that you discover a clue to spawn a location instead of doing a straight investigate test. So.
Right. Or it's spend clues. Like
right. It's something other than that. So, yeah.
And then we got Return to Lost in Time and Space. I've never played the Return to version of the scenario. It comes with new locations. It also features the return of Seth Bishop, or the return to Seth Bishop, as I put here in the show notes. I like I said, unfortunately, I can't speak on how this one changes from the original.
It feels the same. It's
I'm
just
sure it does.
More locations, more complicated as far as the map goes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I said way back when, this scenario makes me actually feel like I'm lost in time and space because every single time I have to like go on the internet and scour down a map to be like, okay, what colors? What locations am I looking for to connect to where? And it just...
Yeah, I think the big thing this one adds is the Realms Beyond location. That when a forced effect would move you to another dimension, it moves you here instead. And it just kind of traps you there a little bit. And I think the main reason why it's notable too is I love the art on Realms Beyond of this floating beastie in the in the void. But yeah, it's not a huge difference. Like all the same strategies that you would want to use in the old Lost in Time and Space, you're still probably gonna do in this one.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. That's Return to Dunwich. I think it was a pretty solid start for what is now, what was one of my favorite products for this game was the Return to boxes. And I think, again, going back to what Sean has said off the air, that Dunwich is his favorite, or he thinks it's the best. What did he say exactly? Something like that.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. I guess I don't know if I agree with him or not, because part of me is still just like, oh man, but Carcosa. But at the same time, like the Carcosa Return to box, it's harder for me to pinpoint what the changes were. You know what I mean? In Carcosa.
Yeah.
Because the original Carcosa didn't feel like it had things that needed changing, versus Dunwich had some obvious points where it was like, well, if we could go back and do it differently, we would change that to it. So I think Dunwich probably feels like it's the biggest improvement out of all of them simply because
Well,
as we move further, Max has learned more about designing these campaigns, and each one, is an improvement on the last one in a way. So,
and I think she's mentioned too a lot before where like they were finishing up the design of Dunwich and getting ready to print before the core set came
yeah,
out,
oh, totally,
right? And so like a large swath of people have not yet played this game, and so there's cracks you see in Dunwich, especially looking like nowadays back to Dunwich, right? Like it's a very different game, and also the ability of the God, I just said their names, the two brothers, the Sadler brothers, to join her on kind of like going over this again, and like it was a chance to go back and like patch it, right? And not saying that Dunwich was bad or anything. No, it was great, but there were little things that needed patching, and this is just a fantastic product. It's also the first return to box that was a full campaign, because I mean the core set was just the core. But that one changed the core set, right? Like those scenarios really changed.
I mean, okay, Gathering did, not to rehash last episode, Gathering changed significantly. Masks kind of changed. It got a little bit harder, and Devour Below is still Devour Below. Like,
yeah, I just feel like this one feels like a smoother change to me.
Yes,
like it feels like this could have come out as Dunwich, and I would have also been fine with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I like what they did.
Yeah.
This was a good one. I don't know if I'd say the best, especially because of the player cards, but it is, dare I say, the most needed.
Yeah, it's definitely the most needed, and I also don't know if I would say it's my favorite. Well, I know I wouldn't, because there's one I have in mind that I won't say until we get there. But but I do think, like, if a new player asked me which return box should I get if I can only get one, it would be this one, because it is. I really compare it a lot to Lord of the Rings. Bring back the drinking game, because as we mentioned last episode, that game had nightmare scenarios, and return boxes are not nightmare. But the analogy I see is because in that game, it's similar, where I would often tell people that the best nightmare packs to get are the ones for the first cycle of Lord of the Rings, because not only did they up the difficulty, but they actually fixed some things that just didn't work. And again, because it was the first cycle of Lord of the Rings, there were some rough patches, some things that they probably wouldn't have done if it was designed later. And it's the same thing here, where with Dunwich, there's just some places that need to be fixed and sanded down to get rid of those rough edges. And so I think overall the return box does a good job of that. Even though there are other return boxes I might like more, I think this has the most like substantial changes that I really remember.
Right. Also, I think that this is probably the only one where I would guess that we would all agree that once you get the Return to box, there's no reason to play the original anymore. I think all the follow-up Return to boxes they're more of another option, and not necessarily like this is the definitive final version of this campaign. Whereas with Dunwich, it's very much like, no, this is the one to play, because it's taking a stab at Dunwich now with all of the design notes and everything that have been learned, since the original one came out. So.
Yeah, and I do think this is one of the bigger difficulty spikes of return boxes. In general, the return boxes aren't all about upping the difficulty. It's more about adding variety, but I think they did do that in Return to Dunwich. Not for every scenario. Mostly for Miskatonic Museum and Essex. I'd say Undimensioned and Unseen is harder because of the broods and those treacheries. So particularly those three scenarios, but because like Miskatonic and Essex could be some of the easier scenarios, upping the difficulty really ups the overall campaign difficulty, which is fine because it's kind of bringing it up to par. Dunwich was, if you compare it to some of the later campaigns, not as hard. And so I think it's really just kind of bringing it up to the standard we kind of expect now. Whereas the later return boxes don't really need to do that.
Right. They don't need to.
Like, you don't need to make TFA harder.
Right. Yeah, they don't need to, but Return to the Unspeakable Oath still is kind of a
we'll get
nail
there.
biter. Yeah, we'll get there. So, all right. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. I don't think there's anything else I really need to go over for Return to Dunwich. Great product. If you don't have it, buy it because it's good. But make sure you get all of Dunwich first. Scott.
I have our next winner.
Yeah, who's our next
All right.
But I think this gentleman actually may already have the product.
Okay.
But I will see. McDog, number 3, who's a Minnesota local.
Yeah.
So I am going to, because I think he might already have it. Oh, let's see.
He's typing.
Multiple
If he
people
doesn't,
are
then-
typing.
Yeah.
Things are afoot.
Yes, McDog, this is for the investigator box.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have it? Do you want a second one? Like, do you
Yeah,
want
that's
it,
the
or do you
question.
want some Mythos Buster swag and we pass it to the next person? It's totally your choice. I'm totally cool if you want to. Like, that's you've won. So
Yeah, we're not going to police how many of these products you have. He has a
give it to someone else.
Okay.
All right. What a generous person. All right. I'm gonna redraw the number here.
So McDog, we'll I'll probably reach out to you over the course of the next day or two and see what swag you don't already have that we can set you up with.
Mm-hmm.
Next winner is Big Kahuna.
Oh.
Big Kahuna.
Is he still here?
Do you have the investigator box? All right. So I'm gonna go with he probably wants the box.
I think so. I love
So
it.
congrats.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Congrats, guys. Thanks for hanging out and listening. I almost wanted to do the drawing after Tentacle Time, just to force us to have, higher than 20 listeners during Tentacle Time. But
I'm doing the drawing, so who says
Right.
I'm going to be here after Tentacle Time?
Yeah, we decided not to
That's true.
inflict that on our listeners.
yeah. All right. Well, then let's move it on into Tentacle Time. Then, now that we got that out of the way, so Scott, what has been occupying your time, Tired Boy Scott?
Oh man, I've been just working a bunch, of course. But honestly, man, it's chess. I've just been studying more and actually, reading books and stuff, and I'm on to reading. I think I mentioned this last time I was on the show, how I stopped reading for pleasure, after I finished paramedic school, and I'd read 3 novels. I'm on to my second novel in a month. So
Wow, slow down,
yeah,
man.
I know, but that's huge for me because before this, I was averaging 1 novel every 3 years. So there you go. And it's called, Red King and White Queen? It's about Bobby Fischer when he was the Soviets, their chess program. They were the world champ. Outside of Bobby Fischer, the USSR, a USSR person was the world champion of chess for 60 years. Outside of the years that Bobby had it. And so it's just the story of him going there. And Bobby Fischer is a very, I'm going to use the word interesting person because he also had some very disgusting views on people. He was anti-Semite and cheered on 9/11 when it happened, saying America deserved it and stuff. Yeah, really, and but the thing is also had a lot of mental illnesses. And he was wanted by the U.S. government. And this is all after the chess thing. And he was arrested in Japan, but then he was able to sneak off to Iceland, and they gave him, what's it called when they won't extradite somebody? Asylum?
Yes.
Iceland gave him asylum, and now
Diplomatic
Iceland.
immunity.
Yeah, something like that.
Has
And now,
just been
oddly enough,
revoked.
Iceland is the country with the highest number of chess grandmasters per capita. 1 in every 14,000 people in Iceland is a grandmaster. So very interesting time, and he's also one of those people. So okay, I'm just gonna rant about this book now and about Bobby Fischer, but a lot of all of the previous grandmasters and world champions and stuff, like chess professionals, they have a coach or a team of coaches. Even like the current world champion, like Magnus Carlsen, like he's the best chess player there's ever been. He has coaches because you still need people to spar with and chat about and like find, like, you need other people to look at you the way you can't look at yourself, right? Bobby Fischer didn't trust anybody, and he would just sit alone with a chessboard, didn't read books, didn't ask anyone for advice, and he was this incredible chess genius. But he was also like a bit ill in the head. So
Right.
A very interesting story, interesting person, said some terrible things, had some horrible beliefs. But yeah, very interesting story as far as in the Cold War, how part of it was fought over the chessboard, if you will. So that's the premise of the book. It's yeah, super interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really quick, because Ian and I reference Lethal Weapon 2 with our little diplomatic immunity.
Diplomatic immunity.
Diplomatic immunity. I think I might have mentioned this before, but peek behind the curtain with Murder at the Excelsior. Sergeant Monroe during testing was Sergeant Murtaugh. And late in the stages of development, Max was like, "Yeah, that we can't do that." And I was like, "Damn it!"
Now we need the alt art.
Right? Danny Glover. Yes. Okay, Ian, what has been grabbing you lately?
Well, I just recorded with Sean a week ago, so not much new has entered my life. So I guess I'll talk about 2 games that came in the mail, which I haven't got a chance to play, and which I probably won't get to play for a while, but, you know, I'm looking over at my shelf and they're staring at me. So I got 2 Kickstarters in the mail. So one is Hero Quest. Technically not a Kickstarter. It was like Hasbro's own weird Kickstarter, but I'm just going to call it a Kickstarter. So Hero Quest is... they're basically reissuing an old game from way back when. I'm trying to remember when it came out. I think in the 90s when I was a youngin. And one of the original kind of dungeon crawling board games. And I remember getting it from Toys R Us. And one of the big things that sticks out to me is, one, it came with these like kind of ridiculous furniture pieces because they're not like needed to be functional, but it'd be like a bookcase piece. And I mean, it's the kind of thing when I say now, everyone's like, yeah, because like we live in a world of like board game mini explosions where every Kickstarter has to have like minis for everything, even if they're not needed. But back then, that was pretty novel thing to have that. But the bigger thing was just that it was a game where one player had to be like a dungeon master, and only they could see the maps, and they would set out monsters when players enter a room and traps. And so it was really introducing. So I think that was the first time I ever got exposed to the idea of like a dungeon master and some of these role-playing concepts. So yeah, just one of those very foundational games. And it's obviously been out of print for a long time. And so they brought it back, and with like a lot of the old art and stuff. So definitely a nostalgia bomb that I'm looking forward to introducing my son to at some point. That's the main reason I got it, so he could have the Hero Quest experience. Nice. The other one I got is an actual Kickstarter, which is Unsettled. And this is a kind of cooperative science fiction game where you get like stranded on a planet, and so the expansions are actually different planets and types of planets. So it could be like a lava world or a world orbiting a black hole, or I can't remember the exact scenarios, but they each have different conditions, and then you just kind of need to survive. But I think one of the interesting things about it is it's not a combat focused game, which is kind of often unheard of for that type of genre. It's more focused on actually like doing science and getting data and figuring out how to survive in this kind of strange world. So that's mostly why I picked it up. I haven't gotten to try it out, although the reviews have been pretty good so far. So hopefully one of these days I'll actually get to put it on the table and play it.
Wow, that box art is not what I expected it to look like. That's really sharp. I'm gonna share that image with Discord here real quick. Is that the box that you have? That purple?
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of a weirdly shaped box. Not your usual shape. Just because it comes with a lot of like, I guess oddly shaped game trays, and I think from what I've read so far, like when you're kind of done playing, you just put the trays back in there with the components there. So it's kind of an actually functional storage. Which is always nice.
It looks. I'm really digging how it looks. Like it has great table presence. Oh man, this was a Kickstarter. You said
it was it's a Kickstarter. I can't remember if it was going to retail or not. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know people have been talking about picking it up, even though they didn't get the Kickstarter. So
yeah, it looks great. I kind of want to get it just from how it looks. There's never enough science fiction board games in my life. I could use more. Yeah. Very nice. For myself, what have I been doing? I missed last episode. I've been playing Arkham, like I said. Sean and I played 2 rounds of Alien Fate of the Nostromo, the game I talked about last time I was on. Really fun. It's cool because, like I said before, it plays in about 45 minutes. And there's no player elimination, there's no character death or anything like that. The alien is literally just area denial is what the alien is when he's moving around the ship. So Sean had the same moment where I did, where he, like 3 rounds in, he's like, okay, I get this. This is fun. This is tense. I like it. And then we finished 2 games, and he's like, I get what you said about not wanting to, even though it's solo, about not wanting to play it too much, because a lot of the replayability is in the levels of variance that come from the different objectives and everything. And so once you play it enough, you kind of have seen everything the game can do. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to play it solo and see everything before I have the chance to play it with other people. But it's really fun. Fate of the Nostromo, it's a good Ravensburger movie LP game. They all are so far that I played, the 3 of them that I played. So, but beyond that, I actually got back into Mass Effect. While I was down at Sean's, his daughter Lily was playing Mass Effect 2 for a little bit. And just watching that was enough for me to be like, I bet I can get around that game-breaking bug that I ran into in Mass Effect 2. So I went in and I loaded up the save, and the bug was still there. So then I just restarted the mission, and I got past that spot, and now it's all working peachy keen. I'm almost done with Mass Effect 2. I actually made the conscious... So I've played and beaten Mass Effect 2 3 times prior to this. 3 or 4 times. But I've never done all of the missions. I've always done all the loyalty missions for all the characters. But I've never done all the little side stuff, because I'm usually just chomping at the bit to get, to progress the story. So this time I made a conscious effort to 100% all of the systems, and do everything that is available to me. And now I realize there's a pretty important optional mission in Mass Effect 2 that you don't have to do. It's all optional. But a not insignificant plot thread in 3 references that. And it's the mission where there's that rogue group that's going to fly an asteroid into the Alpha Relay. And they have a countdown timer to when the Reapers are going to come back. And it's at like 2 days. I've never done that mission until yesterday.
Was that one of the DLC missions? I can't remember.
I don't think it... I mean, I have all the DLC even back when I played it the first time. So if it was, I still had it available to me. But it kind of dawned on me that there's this moment in Mass Effect 3 where they're like, you destroyed a mass relay. Like, you completely destroyed a mass relay, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I didn't. Why are they saying... So I guess the game just defaults to you having done it if you didn't, you know what I mean? Like if you don't have that save file or whatever. But I was just like, what are they talking about? Destroyed a mass relay. And now as I was doing it, I was like, oh, I see now. It makes sense. So anyway, Mass Effect 2, phenomenal game. My humble opinion, best game in the series. Although I haven't beaten Andromeda. So, and I do plan to go back to Andromeda after this is done. I think I am going to go back and play more than a couple hours of it. But it's just so hard to beat too, because you got the biggest roster, the best roster. Like the characters are amazing, all of them are. Even the ones who aren't like full companions, like Kasumi and Zaid, they're still phenomenal. And just like you get Legion in 2, and you get like Jacob is, I mean, boring soldier man, he's whatever, but everyone else, like I think they're just all bomb ass allies. So most important question, did you romance Archangel? No. So my first 2 playthroughs as in Mass Effect 2, I played female Shepard. And the first time through, I didn't romance anybody. And I was just like, this, because I was like, oh, this is going to be my hard-ass renegade. And to this day, I still see Mass Effect 2 as, like, the canonical renegade. One of the 3, like, it goes Paragon, Renegade, Paragon in my head. Because that's how I played through it. I'm like, they're going to be a loner, they're going to shun everyone else and be like, nope, I'm a renegade, blah, blah, blah. And then... I forget who I romanced the second time I did Fem Shep. But I'm doing male Shep for the first time ever, as a full playthrough. And I was going Miranda, but then the conversation with Tally just went in that direction, and I'm like, God, Tally, you're so adorable. I don't know. So I guess we'll see where that goes. So stay tuned for next time when we find out who male Shep is going to romance, I guess. Because that's the real Mass Effect, isn't it? Is picking the romance options.
That's the real real story to be told.
Yeah. Maka already coming through with the alt art Sergeant Murtaugh. Amazing. I love it. Cut print. We'll have that at BusterCon, maybe. I don't know. I shouldn't commit to it, but we should.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Copyright and all that stuff.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 118. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, like, we did see a drop-off from main episode to Tentacle Time, but we're still at 20 for Tentacle Time, so that's great. So if everyone is still listening, like, thanks for hanging out with us and talking about that. But, as always, come join us on our Discord. If you're not already, you can find us at discord.gg... Wait.
Discord.gg/Mythosbusters.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but then I second-guessed myself midway through it. Send us an email if you have any feedback for the show, mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. And as always, give us a call, leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. 203-693-MYTH or 203-6... Anyway, I said it earlier. It'll be in the show notes. You can figure it out.
6984, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time for episode 119. Bye-bye.
Bye.